The air smelled like grilled takoyakis and candied apples, sweetness clinging to the night. Red lanterns swayed above the courtyard, their glow reflecting in the glass doors of the gym. Students rushed with trays, voices overlapping, laughter too loud, as if this one festival night could contain all of youth. Takashi stood at the edge, one hand in his pocket, the other gripping his bag. Tall, serious, glasses slipping, he blended into the shadows. Festivals weren't his thing. Too much noise, too many fake smiles. He adjusted his frames, scanning for a way to escape. A voice cut through the crowd. "Hey, you can't just leave trash there." He looked up. Ayako. Ponytail loose, tray in hand, eyes sharp. Two boys bowed quickly, picking up their skewers under her glare. When she turned, her eyes locked on Takashi for a second. It was enough. He looked away too fast, chest tightening. Ayako noticed him too. The boy on the sidelines, too still, too quiet, annoying. She marched toward him before she thought twice. "You," she said. "Me?" His voice was low. "You've been standing like a ghost. Are you even part of this school?" "Third year. Class B." She tilted her head. "Really? You don't look like someone who hides in corners." "I'm not hiding." "Oh? Then prove it. Help me carry these trays. Unless disappearing is your specialty." He wanted to refuse, but her eyes dared him. With a sigh, he took a tray. "Fine." Her grin widened. "See? Not so hard." They walked side by side, balancing dishes. Ayako fired questions like sparks. "Do you like festivals?" "Not really." "Knew it. You've got that library vibe." "Sometimes." "Exactly." Serious face. Kind of scary. He wanted to argue, but when he glanced at her, she wasn't mocking, she was curious. Something in his chest eased. By the time they reached the cleanup station, Ayako had decided. This quiet boy wasn't someone she could ignore, and Takashi already knew his world had shifted when she said you. Neither guessed how messy the road ahead would be. Arguments, tears, late-night reconciliations, fragile laughter stitched together by two 18-year-olds learning what love really meant. But tonight, under lantern light and voices like a tide, it began with a single glance. If you want to see where this story goes, through heartbreaks and moments that stay with you, don't forget to like and subscribe. The journey is just starting. The next morning, the festival felt like a dream fading with daylight. The courtyard was clean again, lanterns packed away, laughter replaced by the sound of cicadas. But Takashi couldn't shake the memory of Ayako's eyes, bright and insistent, like she had seen straight through him. At school, the usual rhythm pressed down, teachers droning, notebooks filling, clocks ticking too slowly. Takashi sat by the window in Class B, pretending to take notes, though his mind replayed yesterday. The way she'd handed him a tray, like it was the simplest thing in the world. The way she smiled when he agreed. He told himself it was nothing, just a coincidence. Still, when the bell rang for lunch, his chest tightened with some strange expectation. And then she appeared. Ayako leaned casually against the doorway of Class B, her ponytail swaying as if it had its own rhythm. "Hey, ghost," she said, loud enough for a few classmates to snicker. "You eating alone?" Takashi froze. "Why do you care?" "Because you'll starve if I don't drag you out. Come on." Without waiting for an answer, she grabbed his sleeve and pulled him into the hallway. They ended up on the rooftop, where the breeze carried the scent of chalk dust and summer heat. Ayako sat cross-legged on the concrete, tearing open her bento. "Don't just stand there. Sit." He hesitated, then sat beside her, unwrapping a simple sandwich from a convenience store. She glanced at it and smirked. "Figures, you really don't try, do you?" "It's food," he muttered. "Food should make you happy," she said. offering a piece of tamagoyaki from her lunch. "Here." He stared at it too long before finally taking a bite. Sweet, soft. His ears warmed. "Good, right?" she teased. "Yeah." The silence stretched, but not the uncomfortable kind. For Takashi it felt strange, like sitting under a tree with sunlight filtering through. Safe, unfamiliar, but not bad. After a while, Ayako leaned back on her hands. "So, library boy, do you ever smile?" "I do." "Prove it." He looked at her, caught the playful curve of her mouth, and something inside loosened. His lips twitched into the smallest smile. "There," she exclaimed, pointing. "I knew you had one." He rolled his eyes, but she laughed, the sound tumbling freely into the sky. And despite himself, he felt lighter. Days passed like that. Quick lunches on the rooftop, quiet walks to the station after school. Ayako filled the silence with stories about her classmates, her strict mother, her dream of traveling to Tokyo after graduation. Takashi mostly listened, sometimes answering with short sentences, but Ayako didn't mind. She seemed to like the way he listened, like his silence gave her words more space. Still, it wasn't all easy. One afternoon, when she waved goodbye to a boy from the soccer club, Takashi's chest tightened with something sharp. He didn't say anything, but Ayako noticed the shift in his eyes. "What?" she asked. "Nothing," he said too quickly. She raised an eyebrow. "You're a terrible liar." He turned away, heat rising in his neck. He didn't understand it himself, why it bothered him, why he couldn't just ignore it. For the first time, Ayako didn't push. She just watched him, her smile softer now. "You're strange, ghost. But I think I like strange." The words lingered between them, long after she walked away, echoing louder than the cicadas. Takashi stayed there, staring at the ground, his heart pounding like it had forgotten the rhythm of silence. Something was changing. He didn't know what it would cost, but he couldn't stop it anymore. Summer thickened the air, making the classrooms feel like ovens, even with the fans rattling in the corners. Exams were approaching, and the teachers piled on assignments as if extra weight could prepare them for the future. For Takashi, though, the days blurred into equations and essays, but his mind kept drifting. To rooftop lunches, to Ayako's laughter echoing in the wind. They had fallen into a rhythm. Walks home after class, Ayako teasing him into conversation, Takashi listening more than speaking. Sometimes, in quiet moments, her shoulder brushed his, and neither of them pulled away. It wasn't official, not yet, but the space between them had changed. Until that afternoon, the hallway buzzed with after-school chatter. Takashi had been waiting near the shoe lockers when he saw her, Ayako, laughing with the same soccer boy from before. Her hand touched the boy's arm for just a second, but it was enough. Takashi's chest knotted tight. When she finally noticed him, her smile faltered. "Oh, hey, sorry I'm late." He forced a nod. "It's fine." His voice was flat. She studied him, frowning. "What's wrong?" "Nothing." There it is again. You always say nothing when your face screams something. He looked away, the knot twisting harder. "Why do you hang around him so much?" Her eyebrows shot up. "Excuse me?" "You're always talking, laughing," touching his arm. Ayako stared, then let out a sharp laugh. "Are you serious? You're jealous? Of him?" The word hung heavy. Jealous. Takashi clenched his fists, hating how true it felt. "I just don't get why you need to be so close to him." Her expression hardened. "Because he's my friend, Takashi. Do I need your permission to laugh?" His stomach churned. He wanted to take the words back, but pride locked them in. "You don't understand." "No," she snapped. "You don't. You hide behind silence and then act like I owe you an explanation for breathing. That's not fair." The hallway felt smaller, students' voices fading into background noise. Takashi opened his mouth, but no words came. Ayako shook her head, grabbing her bag. "You know what? Forget it. If you can't trust me, then maybe we shouldn't be walking home together." She turned, footsteps sharp against the floor. He stood frozen, watching her disappear into the crowd, a hollow ache spreading through his chest. That night, Takashi sat at his desk, books open but unread. He replayed her words again and again. "You don't trust me." His room felt colder, heavier. For the first time in weeks, silence wasn't comforting. It was unbearable. Ayako, lying awake in her own room, wasn't doing much better. She clutched her phone, staring at the blank screen, waiting for a message that never came. Her pride kept her from texting first, but her chest burned with a mix of anger and regret. Why had he looked at her like that? Why couldn't he just believe her? Neither of them slept much that night, and the distance, once invisible, had begun to grow like a crack in glass. Rain swept across the schoolyard the next week, blurring the world into silver lines. Students rushed under umbrellas, shoes splashing through puddles. Takashi lingered by the classroom door, watching the water streak down the glass. Ayako hadn't spoken to him since the fight. Every lunch, the rooftop was empty. Every walk home, she disappeared with friends. The silence between them weighed heavier than any words. Then came the group project. Their homeroom teacher, tired of complaints, paired students randomly. When the names were read, Ayako and Takashi both froze. "You'll be working together," the teacher announced. No room for argument. That afternoon, they sat across from each other in the library, the smell of paper and dust pressing in. A math workbook lay open between them, untouched. Ayako tapped her pencil, eyes fixed on the page. Takashi stared at the numbers, but his chest beat too loud to focus. Finally, she broke the silence. "So, are we doing this or not?" Her tone was clipped, but softer than he expected. "Yeah," he said quietly, pulling the book closer. He explained the first problem, his voice steady, careful. She frowned, then scribbled notes, her ponytail swaying as she leaned over. For a while, it was only the scratch of pencils and the muffled whispers of other students. Halfway through, her eraser slipped and rolled off the table. Takashi bent down. At the same time she did, their hands brushed, brief, electric. Both froze. Ayako pulled back first, her cheeks tinted pink. "Thanks," she muttered, taking the eraser. They kept working, but something had shifted. The wall between them wasn't as high anymore. When she struggled with a formula, he leaned in to explain, his shoulder nearly touching hers. She listened quietly, not mocking this time, not teasing, just listening. By the end, the workbook was filled with answers. Ayako closed it with a sigh. "Guess we make a good team," she said, her voice softer, almost reluctant. Takashi looked at her. The anger in her eyes was gone, replaced by something tired, almost fragile. His chest ached. The words spilled out before he could stop them. "I'm sorry." She blinked. "For what?" "For not trusting you. For saying things I didn't mean." Ayako stared at him for a long moment, then let out a slow breath. "You really are an idiot. You know that?" But her lips curved into the faintest smile. Silence settled again, but this time it was warm. She slid her notebook into her bag, then stood. "Walk me home?" Takashi hesitated, then nodded. They left the library together, rain still drizzling outside. Sharing an umbrella, their shoulders brushed again, closer this time. Neither said much on the way, but when Ayako's hand slipped slightly against his, Takashi didn't pull away. She didn't either. And in that quiet moment, under the soft patter of rain, something fragile and new began to grow again. something worth protecting. Autumn crept in, painting the trees around the school in shades of red and gold. The breeze carried the smell of fallen leaves, and college brochures started piling on every desk. Teachers talked about exams, applications, futures. For 18-year-olds, the world suddenly felt too close, too heavy. Takashi sat in his room one evening, staring at the stack of pamphlets his parents had left. Engineering schools in Tokyo, scholarships, deadlines. His father's voice echoed in his head. Focus on what matters. Don't waste time. He knew what that meant. No distractions, no detours, no Ayako. At the same time, Ayako faced her own storm. Her mother, strict and unyielding, wanted her in nursing school. It's stable, respectable. You won't run around chasing foolish dreams, she said. But Ayako wanted more. Tokyo, freedom, a chance to see beyond their small town. The thought of staying felt like a cage. When they met after school, the weight of their families pressed between them. At first, they tried to ignore it, walking under fading daylight, sharing quiet smiles. But cracks soon appeared. One afternoon on the rooftop, Ayako finally spoke. I don't want to stay here after graduation. I want to move. I want to live. Takashi frowned. Move? To Tokyo? Yes. Why not? Her voice was sharp. Why should I stay trapped just because it's safe? He hesitated. Because it's reckless. My parents, your parents aren't you, Takashi. Don't you get it? We're supposed to decide our lives. His chest tightened. You think it's that easy? To just throw away stability for some dream? Ayako's eyes flashed. So what? You're planning to just follow your father's orders forever. The words cut deeper than she realized. Takashi stiffened, his jaw tight. At least, I'm realistic. Realistic? She snapped. Or just afraid? The rooftop fell silent, only the wind rushing past. Takashi looked away, shame and anger twisting together. Ayako's throat burned, but pride held her tongue. They walked home separately that day, the distance wider than ever. That night, Ayako sat on her bed, clutching a notebook filled with scribbled plans. Apartments in Tokyo, part-time jobs, music shows she wanted to see. Her chest ached. She wanted Takashi beside her, but maybe he wasn't brave enough. Meanwhile, Takashi stared at his father's brochures, the pages blurring. His mind replayed Ayako's words, afraid. Maybe she was right. Maybe he was. But wasn't she asking him to risk everything? For the first time, Takashi wondered if love was enough to hold two people who wanted such different futures. Winter crept quietly over the town. Frost glazed the classroom windows, and breath turned white in the morning air. Graduation loomed closer, each day marked by rehearsals, yearbook photos, and whispered plans about life after school. Takashi and Ayako hadn't spoken much since the rooftop fight. They passed each other in hallways with quick glances, too proud to bridge the silence, too stubborn to admit how much it hurt. Friends noticed, but no one dared to interfere. On the evening before graduation, Takashi found himself walking past the old festival courtyard, empty now, except for lantern hooks swaying in the wind. Memories flooded back, her voice calling him ghost, her laughter on the rooftop, the warmth of her hand under the umbrella. His chest tightened with the weight of everything unsaid. Without thinking, he pulled out his phone. His fingers hovered, then typed, "Can we meet?" He didn't expect an answer. But minutes later, his screen lit up. Same place as before, the rooftop. The school was quiet that night, only the hum of distant traffic outside. Takashi climbed the stairs, heart pounding. When he opened the door, Ayako was already there, leaning against the railing, the city lights flickering behind her. For a moment, neither spoke. The cold wind brushed past, carrying the silence like a fragile thread. Then Ayako sighed. I didn't think you'd actually come." "I almost didn't," he admitted, stepping closer. "But I couldn't leave things like this." She turned, her eyes softer than he remembered. "Me neither." They stood side by side, staring at the dark horizon. Finally, Takashi said, "I was scared. Of disappointing my parents. Of losing you. Of everything." Ayako's throat tightened. "And I was scared you'd never believe in me. That you'd think my dreams were just childish." He shook his head. "I never thought that. I just didn't know how to be brave like you." She blinked, tears pricking her eyes. "You don't have to be like me. Just be with me." Slowly, he reached for her hand. This time she didn't hesitate. Their fingers laced together, firm, steady, despite the trembling. "I don't know what the future looks like," Takashi whispered. "Tokyo, college, whatever comes. But I know I want it with you." Ayako let out a shaky laugh, wiping her cheek with her free hand. "Finally, Ghost. Took you long enough." They stood there, holding hands under the winter sky. Two 18-year-olds, facing a world too big, too uncertain, but together. And for the first time, the silence between them wasn't heavy. It was full of promise. The next day, when their names were called at graduation, both looked at each other across the hall. No words were needed. They already knew. The story they had begun under lantern light was only the first chapter.